Former President Donald Trump was holding a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. It was a hot summer evening and the crowd was energized. People cheered as Trump took the stage. Suddenly, loud pops cut through the air. Chaos erupted as people realized it was gunfire. The rally turned into a scene of panic and fear. The gunshots came from outside the rally venue. A lone gunman had positioned himself on a nearby rooftop. He aimed his weapon at the stage where Trump was speaking. Witnesses described a scene of terror as people screamed and ran for cover. The Secret Service immediately sprang into action, rushing Trump off the stage. The crowd scattered as law enforcement officers swarmed the area. The peaceful atmosphere of the rally had been shattered in a matter of seconds. The Secret Service agents didn't hesitate. They quickly identified the location of the shooter on the rooftop. With the safety of the former president and the crowd paramount, the agents returned fire. The exchange of gunfire was brief but intense. The gunman was shot and killed at the scene. The area fell quiet, except for the sirens of approaching emergency vehicles. Medical personnel rushed to aid those injured in the chaos. The rally was immediately shut down as investigators began piecing together the events. The quick and effective response of the Secret Service undoubtedly saved lives. Tragically, not everyone escaped unharmed. 2 individuals, both rally attendees, were fatally wounded in the shooting. 3 others sustained injuries, thankfully non-life-threatening. The victims' names were not immediately released, pending notification of their families. Law enforcement agencies launched a full-scale investigation into the shooting. They sought to determine the gunman's identity, his motives, and whether he had acted alone. Authorities executed search warrants, examining the gunman's online activity and potential ties to extremist groups. The nation waited anxiously for answers. In the aftermath of the shooting, former President Trump took to his social media platform, Truth Social, to address the nation. He expressed his profound sadness over the loss of life and offered his prayers for the injured and their families. Trump revealed that he had been grazed by a bullet during the attack, a minor injury that underscored the very real danger he had faced. He shared his gratitude for the swift actions of the Secret Service, crediting them with saving his life and the lives of many others. Despite the traumatic experience, Trump vowed to continue his political activities, stating that he would not be intimidated by acts of violence. He called for unity and healing, urging Americans to come together and reject hatred and division. From the White House, President Joe Biden addressed the nation, expressing his deep sorrow and outrage over the shooting. He condemned the act in the strongest possible terms, labeling it a horrific act of violence that had no place in American society. Biden offered his condolences to the families of the victims, pledging the full support of the federal government in their time of need. He also commended the bravery and quick thinking of the Secret Service. President Biden called for unity and understanding, urging Americans to reject the kind of political polarization that could lead to such acts of violence. He emphasized the importance of civil discourse and respect for differing viewpoints. His words reflected the nation's collective grief and the shared desire to find a way to heal and move forward from the tragedy. Sarah Miller, a young woman from Butler, had been excited to attend the rally. She had been looking forward to this event for weeks, eagerly anticipating the chance to show her support. A staunch supporter of former President Trump, she had arrived early to get a good spot near the stage. She wanted to be as close as possible to the action, to feel the energy of the crowd. What began as a day of excitement and anticipation quickly turned into a nightmare. The atmosphere shifted dramatically and the joy turned to fear. Sarah described the scene as the first gunshots rang out. The sound was deafening and it took a moment for everyone to realize what was happening. It was chaos, she recalled, her voice trembling. The once jubilant crowd was now a sea of panic and confusion. People were screaming and running, knocking each other over trying to get away. The sense of urgency and desperation was palpable. She dropped to the ground, her heart pounding in her chest, as the sound of gunfire echoed through the air. She could feel the vibrations of the shots reverberating through the ground. When the shooting finally stopped, she slowly got to her feet, her body trembling. The silence that followed was almost as terrifying as the gunfire. She looked around at the scene, her eyes wide with horror. The once lively rally was now a scene of devastation. There were people lying on the ground, some bleeding, she said, her voice choked with emotion. The sight was overwhelming and she struggled to process what she was seeing. The experience left an indelible mark on Sarah, a chilling reminder of the fragility of life and the ever-present threat of violence. It was a day she would never forget, a stark contrast to the excitement she had felt just hours before. The shooting sent shockwaves through the political landscape. Lawmakers from both sides of the aisle issued statements expressing their horror and sadness over the event. Many condemned the violence and called for unity and healing. Some politicians used the tragedy to call for stricter gun control measures. Others emphasized the need for increased security at political events. The shooting sparked a debate about the increasingly vitriolic nature of political discourse in the country. Some commentators argued that the heated rhetoric and demonization of opponents created an environment where violence became more likely. The event highlighted the fragility of democracy and the need to protect the right to peaceful assembly. The Justice Department, under the leadership of Attorney General Merrick Garland, took the lead in the investigation, treating the shooting as a potential act of domestic terrorism. This decision underscored the seriousness with which the authorities were approaching the case. The FBI deployed its full resources, working in conjunction with state and local law enforcement agencies to gather evidence and track down any possible accomplices. This collaborative effort was crucial in ensuring that no detail was overlooked. Investigators meticulously examined the crime scene, collecting ballistic evidence, interviewing witnesses, and reviewing hours of video footage from the rally. Each piece of evidence was carefully analyzed to build a comprehensive picture of the events. They delved into the gunman's background, scrutinizing his online activity, financial records, and any potential links to extremist groups. This thorough examination aimed to uncover any underlying motives or connections. The investigation extended beyond U.S. borders, with the FBI coordinating with international partners. This global cooperation was essential in tracking any international ties the suspect might have had. The Justice Department pledged to leave no stone unturned in its pursuit of justice for the victims and their families. This commitment was a promise to the nation that every effort would be made to find the truth. The investigation promised to be long and complex, a testament to the gravity of the crime. The agents were prepared for the challenges ahead, knowing the importance of their mission. The nation awaited answers, hoping that the investigation would shed light on the motives behind the shooting. The public's demand for clarity and justice was palpable, reflecting the widespread impact of the tragedy. As the investigation progressed, the nation grappled with the question, why? What could drive an individual to open fire on a crowd of innocent people at a political rally? Investigators carefully pieced together the gunman's life, examining his writings, online activity, and personal relationships. They explored various angles, including potential mental health issues, extremist ideologies, and personal grievances. Early findings suggested a troubled individual struggling with personal demons. The gunman had a history of mental health issues and had expressed feelings of anger and resentment towards the government and society. He had become increasingly isolated, spending hours online consuming extremist content. The tragedy served as a grim reminder of the challenges faced by a society grappling with rising extremism and the need for early intervention to address mental health issues. The shooting at the Trump rally raised serious concerns about the safety and security of public figures, highlighting vulnerabilities in current protocols. The incident served as a stark reminder of the very real threats faced by politicians, activists, and other prominent individuals, who often find themselves in the public eye and at risk. In the aftermath of the shooting, security experts and law enforcement agencies began re-evaluating existing security protocols for public events, aiming to identify and address any gaps. They called for increased vigilance, enhanced screening measures, and the use of advanced technology, such as facial recognition software and drone surveillance, to better monitor and protect these events. There was also a renewed emphasis on the importance of intelligence gathering and threat assessment, ensuring that potential threats are identified and mitigated before they can cause harm. Law enforcement agencies pledged to work more closely with social media companies to identify individuals who might pose a threat, leveraging online data to enhance security measures. The shooting sparked a debate about the balance between security and freedom of speech, with many questioning how to protect public figures without infringing on democratic rights. Finding the right balance between protecting public figures and preserving democratic values became a paramount concern as society grapples with these complex issues. The shooting at the Trump rally left an indelible mark on the nation's psyche. It served as a painful reminder of the deep divisions that plagued the country and the ease with which political rhetoric could escalate into violence. In the aftermath of the tragedy, there was a collective sense of grief and loss, but also a glimmer of hope. People from all walks of life came together to mourn the victims, offer support to their families, and condemn the senseless violence. The shooting sparked a national conversation about the importance of civil discourse and the need for greater understanding and empathy. There was a renewed commitment to upholding the values of democracy, freedom of speech, and the peaceful resolution of differences. While the scars of the tragedy would undoubtedly linger, the shooting also served as a catalyst for positive change.